This is the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mosen.
Happy Wednesday, folks, and it's great to be back here again. Please keep the calls coming. Ask for Sarah, the number here, 1-800-662-9550. Pat Ryan, it's always lovely having you here with me. And do you say it's hump day?
Yes, yes, and I finally figured out I love that commercial on TV, and I think we all know it. You know, it's a camel walking around in the office, and you see the people like in their cubicles, they're so indifferent to it, and you know, and he's walking around, and the camel is saying, "What day is it?" And everybody's like, "Oh, I'm just ignoring this camel," you know, and then finally somebody says, "Yes, it's hump day," and then the camel's all happy, and I guess it's hump day just because, you know, you get to the third day, the third working day, and once you get beyond it, you've made it over the hump and you're coming down the hill to the Thursday and Friday. So, yes, it is. And I'm always happy to be here. I'm happy to be here actually any day. I truly am. But I always am happy to talk to you, Sarah, because you remind us of things that we are not on the forefront of our mind, because that is not our discipline in a lot of places. It is yours, and it's really great. I know that you're already thinking about tax time and deductions and all of that, and we're still here in December. Most of us aren't thinking about that till after New Year's Eve, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's just so much coming up in the new year, and the good news is that if you do have or are a homeowner, there's a lot of deductions, exclusions, and credits for homeowners. So for folks who are filing taxes and are looking at the benefits of home ownership, it's a great time to remember that that interest that you're paying on that mortgage is a tax deduction. Mm-hmm. And some of the mandatory fees that were charged by the state, by the government, can be deducted as well, that you had originally had to go through during your purchase process as well. Those are items that we can talk about individually, privately, because they're pretty technical, but it certainly will save you a lot of money. But in the process of the tax deductions, you also have to be aware that during tax season, a lot of people are a little freaked out because they're not sure whether they owe money to the tax man. And if you do, it's a great time to refinance and get that cash, that money out of your home, and save even more by reducing that rate on the mortgage that you're holding. So it's a good time to prepare and plan for the future.
Yeah, it really is. And again, we've used this word quite a bit, the transparency in all things. And, you know, even as a husband and wife, sometimes we're not 100% honest, and that is, God calls us to be 100% honest, 100% transparent. You become one when you get married, and so you should not be, you know, holding out. And a lot of times, the longer we hold something, the worse we think it is. And when we actually disclose it and put it right out there, and working together as two people, you can come to a great remedy. You give Sarah a call, and she can show you how to get on the path to getting your credit corrected if you need that, or to get your debt ratio down, to rewrite a mortgage. I mean, get rid of those second mortgages which are disguised with other titles, right, Sarah?
Right. The whole idea of calling a second mortgage an equity line, to me, is absolutely, it's just wrong, because people are misled by the verbiage. So take a minute this weekend and look at your paperwork and see what your original bank is holding and what you owe on your mortgage. And then let's do the math together so that we can reduce that payment and get rid of that second mortgage, which is an equity line. The other thing also, Pat, what I've heard and chatted with a lot of our listeners is when maybe they purchased their home 3 years ago with their spouse, and one person was approved because the other person couldn't get on the loan because of their credit score. And therefore, they're not on the property. Their name is not on the property. This can be corrected as well during the refinance process. So we've worked with a lot of husbands and wives who want their name on the property, and while we're getting them refinanced, their name is back on the loan in itself, so that they have equal partnership on that home ownership concept, as well as reducing that payment down to the 3s or the 4s for the rates.
And Sarah, is that always the case? Can there be like a primary owner and then a secondary owner, or is it always equal? Or
well, here's the thing. Sometimes what happens during the purchase process, where the couple may be looking to buy the home together, however, one person's credit is simply below, let's say, the 580 score, and they did not qualify. So the primary person who's got the income and has the scores will just be put on that property for now. However, in the future, which is, let's say now, if you want to look at that paperwork, we can get you back on that loan if obviously your scores have improved and the income is there. And it's important to have that and to be holding that property jointly as well.
That's interesting.
Right. And especially, here's the thing, Pat, especially when rates are this very low at 60-year lows in the 3s and the 4s, it's time to revisit because you've outgrown the mortgage that you're currently holding. I promise you that, because your needs are different. Perhaps your kids have grown up and they're going to college, and you want to make sure that you don't have any loans out there. You want to take the cash out of your home, reduce the rate, and make sure that they are at least somewhat subsidized with some of that money towards their college education, instead of getting a student loan out that's going to be around 5 or 6%.
Yeah. So really, 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 this is the time to pull all your things together and give Sarah a call at 1-800-662-9550. You will be pleasantly surprised, I am positive, of what can change for you. If your mortgage is, even at 4.5%, as Sarah explained a little bit earlier this week, even 0.5% can be cash that could be in your pocket instead of the lender's pocket. And, we are called to be responsible with our monies. The good Lord talks to us about that in the Bible. We're supposed to be responsible and make the most of it, and there will be rewards as a result of us following His rules. So if it's time to get your finances in order, give Mosen Mortgage a call today at 1-800-662-9550. You can also check out their testimonies of people that have just had their whole world turned around. Sarah has talked about them, some here, people that are just so happy with what they can do now as a result of having a little bit more cash. And you can check out some of these fine folks on Mosen Mortgage Facebook. And Sarah, again, I just want to talk about the difference between wholesale and retail.
Well, this is a fun time to talk about the difference between wholesale and retail as well, because it's the holidays. So imagine going to an outlet store versus a retail store. The difference is that you're spending a lot less and getting a lot more. And that's really the purchasing power of outlet stores versus going to retail and paying double. And imagine having that option here today with your financing. When you're buying your home, you're going to be in a position to have a lower interest rate, far lower than any other lender, any other local bank or credit union, because our rates are the lowest that you can see in the country. And rates in the 3s and the 4s, because the market changes and we're very much engaged with where the rates are throughout the day. You walk into a local bank, what's fascinating and intriguing is that you would imagine that the rate's going to be 5% for 30 days. Well, that's just not the way the market works. There's constant activity, and the higher the rate that is presented at any other lending institution that stays flat for 30 days, the more money they're going to make out of you because of the interest they're charging to you. So why should you pay a higher rate? If you're holding a mortgage note today and you hold even a rate of 4%, you can bring it down to a 3%, cut your term to a 15-year or even a 10-year. So you control your current financial situation and where you're going to be in the next 5 or 10 years. All you have to do is ask the question, ask for Sarah, ask for me. I can give you the tools, and we certainly can work with you to get you in a place where you have that financial freedom and you're not giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars to your existing bank.
Exactly. And actually, Marita's saying that's a good place for us to stop. And hopefully the last message that you just talked in the airwaves about, that people will say, okay, it's time. I'm going to take some action here, because I'm hearing all about Mosen Mortgage and them being wholesale versus retail. And the other very important factor is they have been partnered with us here, Salem, for we're going on 6 years, and they're credible. They're the real deal. They're here to stay. And whoever you start with there at Mosen, you will finish with. So give them a call, 1-800-662-9550.
Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.